Alright, everybody, I have pitted you in a series of combat games against each other. No, I'm just kidding. This is the Icon Pictionary results, but I went with the Gladiator motif for some reason. I think I was thinking of the show American Gladiators for some reason. If you remember that from back in the day. So I'm just going to run through. It's probably not a shock that each section had the same prompts. So we're going to do a head-to-head comparison, and there'll be, winners, quote unquote, of who got the most correct guesses from your teammates. So what I'll do is I'll show you each set of icon signs that you made. I'll give you kind of my take on it of what I think worked and what I think maybe had not a great effect on producing correct guesses from your classmates. And then we'll pick some winners, and then you'll find out who got the most correct guesses and also which section got the most head-to-head wins by the end of the video here. I will say, actually, there were some really great submissions this time around, some of the best that I think I've seen in terms of setting up the narrative of each situation, because these were complicated prompts. So what I did was essentially count how many correct guesses there were, and then whoever got the most correct guesses won in the head-to-head competition, and then whoever got the most head-to-head competition victories won. But you'll have to wait until the end to find that out. So here we go. Okay, so first up in group number 1, the gas station prompt. This is the one that said, touch a metal object to discharge your static electricity prior to dispensing fuel. If you don't do that, especially in the drier months in Chicago, or if you live in a very dry climate, you just generate static electricity by being in your vehicle. So the first thing you touch is going to spark, and that spark can ignite gasoline vapors and cause a fire. It is a rare accident, but it does happen. If you go to any gas station, you will see a large text notice, but most people, honestly, you could forgive them for not reading it because it's long and it's all text. There's nothing really reminding you to do this, but it's up for legal indemnification purposes. So here are the two icons. I will say 701 had all of the components here. It's just, I think those Z letters coming off of the character were confusing. That's typically associated with a character being asleep in comics. I think that 701 was just going for, this is an inattentive driver who isn't doing the safety procedure correctly. 702 had a very nice narrativized set of icons as well. First showing you the wrong conditions to operate in, and then giving you the correct procedure. Although I will say 702 group 1, that hand touching the car, I think it needed to be promoted in terms of importance, because there were not a lot of people in the guesses who were picking up on that. But I'll show you the guesses here really quickly. And here is your winner. 701 squeaks out a victory in the first match. 2-1. There weren't a lot of correct guesses, although a lot of people were getting pretty close in terms of you really needed to pick up on electricity and fire risk. Those were the two criteria I used to choose correct guesses. So it was a close one. Despite the complexity and sophistication of the signs, there weren't a lot of correct guesses, and I think each one had sort of a sticking point that kind of disproportionately affected how many people guessed it correctly. So you would think with two such well-limbed signs, it would be an easy slam dunk to get people to guess correctly, but it just goes to show you representing things using icons is a tricky subject. It's a tricky thing to do. Okay, on to our second match of the evening. This is the filing cabinet prompt. Opening just the top drawer of a filing cabinet, especially if you have a lot of heavy stuff in it, it can cause that filing cabinet to flip. It's actually the same phenomenon that happens with dressers, and you'll occasionally see dressers or media cabinets or things around the house that are recalled because they didn't come with a wall anchoring set. A lot of people get the wall anchors and they just sort of throw them in the trash, thinking like, well, this isn't important. But tipping risks are actually a serious threat. In the office place, it happens. There are accidents where filing cabinets tip, or people trip over the bottom drawer that gets left open. That's another common accident with filing cabinets. Although you don't see those quite as much anymore because, frankly, there just quite aren't as many filing cabinets since most of our files are digital. Both teams had a well-limbed sequence showing the consequences. 702, you showed the safe procedure as well, and there's even, when you look at the drawing, there's a little arrow that depicts that we're going to be looking at a profile view of the filing cabinet as opposed to head-on. So 702 emphasized the correct procedures as well as the incorrect procedures. 701 really doubled down on the tip risk, but I think the fact that the character is reaching up and looks sort of diminutive next to the filing cabinet maybe had a net negative effect on the guesses. But I'll show you the guesses and then I'll come back and tell you who won. So 702 is the victor in this head-to-head Team 2 competition. 702 elicited more correct guesses. 701, again, I don't think... I think there was just one sticking point in that sign that really confused people. In order to have a correct guess, I reasoned that you had to mention both the top drawer being the only drawer open, as well as the fact that it can tip on you. And 701, you were nearly there, but 702 put both those things together in their guesses, so they were the head-to-head victor. All right, in our third bout, we have the cord tripping hazard. So this is the one that said, do not leave electrical cords in highly trafficked areas or walkways because it's a trip risk. This is something, as a former OSHA safety compliance officer myself, this is something that is actually quite dangerous. They make, or different companies manufacture cord covers or cable covers. You'll see these often used at public events where they have to run a cord, or even sometimes you'll see it maybe at the greenhouse when you go to buy your plants if they have a hose exposed, because those are two definite tripping risks. 701 had a double submission. That's almost a disqualification, but I allowed it just because they're basically showing you the same thing, essentially. 702, which is, the stick figure tripping. 702 took Paratus's advice. They showed the unsafe condition, and then they showed you the safe conditions for operation, keeping those cords clear of walkways. Now, you had to get, for a correct guess, both walkways and the tripping risk specifically associated with cords, although 701 used a power strip, but I kind of considered that a cord as well. So I'll show you the guesses, and then I'll give you the head-to-head winner. Okay, 4-1 margin, 702, you are the victor. Again, you had to understand that it was a walkway or highly trafficked area, and you had to get the idea that it was a trip risk. Just saying don't trip over cords or be careful of tripping over cords, that's not really exactly what the prompt was asking you for. You needed to go beyond that to think about the placement of cords, especially where people are going to be walking. So 702 is the victor in this head-to-head contest. Okay, bout number 4 in our Icon Gladiators. This is the hearing damage prompt. This one said, machine noise in excess of 180 decibels, must wear hearing protection. 701, you went with the minimalist approach, trying to show the loud noise and then the earplug or some sort of hearing protection. 702 went with a similar approach to all of 702's teams. Went for the restrictive condition, how not to do it, and then the safe condition over there on the right-hand side. They exercised the option to use 180 dB. Since that's an increment or measurement, it's allowed as text. However, I will say this. the earmuffs or the headphones were a problem. And I'm actually saying headphones because they look like headphones to me. Most people would get confused that that's actually hearing protection. Those are the noise canceling or noise reducing ear coverings, not the not conventional headphones that you would use to listen to music or something like that. So that was a sticking point in the guesses. So I'll show you the guesses and then I will give you the winner. And this one, believe it or not, I've played this game a few times with students and I've never had this happen, but it's a tie. You each got 4 correct guesses. Some of these I disqualified the guesses because they were exactly the same as the prompt, verbatim. I think there were a few people who got confused because I had said if it's your team, put NA or no guess or something like that to indicate that you're not guessing on that one. I think a few of you misunderstood and you pasted the prompts in, so I did have to disqualify those guesses. But this one's a tie. It just goes to show you the minimalist approach and the sort of complex approach can both elicit guesses. I think 702 would have edged out a victory there, but for the fact that the headphones on the icon look too much like headphones. I think you needed to maybe emphasize the context a little bit more by showing machinery making the noise or something like that. A lot of people also misunderstood 180 decibels as a measurement. Decibels is a confusing scale. I think it's logarithmic or something like that. Don't ask me to explain it. But the higher it gets, it represents a log power of sound. 180 is actually the threshold of pain for human beings, or past the threshold of pain, I believe. So this would be like the loudest thing you've ever heard in your life, right? And it would immediately start to cause hearing damage. It would be louder than like a firecracker or louder than an aircraft engine. If you go on OSHA's website, they have a breakdown of different volumes and what the risk is to the person who's hearing it. So this is a tie, no clear winner. Okay, it's all down to this. It's 2-1 for group 702 with one of the contests being a tie. 701 needs to pull out the victory in order to have a chance of tying this thing up. Here we've got the damage to the power cord prompt. This one is telling you do not expose the power cord to high temperatures, open flames, or corrosive chemicals. And you needed to get all 3 of those. I'll tell you right now, 701, those 3 wavy lines, they're registering for most people as water. And even for 702, some people missed that was a thermometer. I think the tick marks needed to be more pronounced on the thermometer icon in order for people to understand that was high temperatures. But regardless, let's take a look at the guesses, and then we'll get the winner. And the winner in this head-to-head match is 702 because you had to get all 3. You had to get hot temperatures, chemicals, corrosive chemicals, and the open flames. And 702, you got it. You were the team that elicited all 3 of those from the people guessing. 701 needed a little more detail on those threats to the power cord. A lot of people, even in 702, a lot of people were getting liquid or water from this. I would go with the thermometer. That would be probably my preference because that's sort of the universal warning symbol that goes on items that you're supposed to keep away from high temperatures. I just think the thermometer needed a little more definition in order to really drive home the point. But regardless, 702, you were the team to get people guessing all 3 dangers to the power cord, so you are the head-to-head winner here. Let's recap all the winners here in Icon Pictionary. So your individual team champions, 702, you are the victors. Or 702 Team 2, you are the victors in the individual competition. The filing cabinet illustration elicited the most correct guesses. And I think, again, it's probably due to the fact that you're following Paratus's idea of what should go in instructions. You show the correct conditions of operation, you show the incorrect conditions of operation, and then you show the consequences of what can happen when you don't follow those conditions of operation. I'm saying paratus, but I think I'm misconstruing. I mean the three conditions I listed in the tutorial. Those are kind of universal. Paratus is the scholar who came up with what needs to go in instructions for them to be successful. All right, so 702, Team 2, you were the individual winners. And now for your section winner. The section winner is 702. 701, you made it a close one, brought it right to the end, but 702 ultimately captures the winner this quarter for Icon Pictionary. So congratulations to all our winners. I should just say that winning, there's no prize for winning. But hopefully you learned a little bit about the challenges and some of the benefits of using icons to represent these sorts of warnings that you'll see pretty much everywhere in your life. Now, the one thing I'll say is there's a lot of incorrect guesses in this game, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that you're encountering these things divorced of their context. So even when you look at 702, I think it was about 50% success rate. I mean, the other thing is it's just challenging to represent things visually. That's why you'll see a lot of disclaimers and instructions use words instead, because making the illustration is difficult, and then making an illustration that people can follow is also difficult, which hopefully is something you take away from this. But I put artificial constraints on here that you wouldn't encounter in the real world in this game. So what I do is I make you use only pictures. That would never really probably be advisable. I mean, we talk in this course about some of the picture-only instructions you'll find in the world, but they're more of the exception than the rule. Most of the time, you get the power of illustrations and icons by using them in tandem with words. So this is sort of an artificial game where you get a little bit of artificial results, but hopefully it gave you a good idea of what it's like to try to represent these sort of complex, abstract ideas through the use of icons as opposed to writing out the disclaimers, which in theory would reach a lot more people than just the lengthy written wall of text verbal disclaimers. Okay, so that's Icon Pictionary for Autumn Quarter 2021. Hopefully you had a good time making these icons, and I'll toss in here that grades are based on effort. You didn't get any extra points or anything like that for winning, so that's just the fun part of the competition to see who can get the most correct guesses. So don't worry if your team was not the individual victor, and your section was not the winning section. It didn't affect your grade at all. This was just to have a little bit of fun with the concept. Okay, folks, that's the end of this recap.